Starting in three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Your guy Tom McGann TG here for Ice Cold Sports, America's Sports Show. Happy to be back with you all, lovely people as always. And today I am joined by a very special guest. He has toured the country, going from college football stadium to college football stadium. He is a full-time master's student. Please introduce Mr. Anthony Petre. How are you doing, Anthony?
Good, good. It's a pleasure to be on, Tommy. I get to tune into the show once in a while. Glad to finally be on it. I'm ready to preview the divisional matchups. Of course, you got my New York Giants in the
We're going to be
matchup.
talking about him. Oh, yeah.
Um, I'll have to give a pick on that, and we'll see how that goes.
Hell yeah. All right, let's just kick it off. Chiefs Jaguars. Obviously, last Saturday we saw one of, the craziest comebacks in playoff history. 27 nothing and the Jaguars come back. It was awesome. Uh, Obviously in this game it's, major underdogs. The Chiefs are obviously a wagon. Probably the best team in the NFL, them or the Bills. But the Jags, Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday. What are your thoughts?
I did see that stat line. Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday. Came close. That comeback was just incredible. I mean, down
Awesome.
27 nothing. And they have been doing that all season. They did that against the Ravens. They almost did it against my Giants. I mean, they have been dangerous on that offensive side. Their defense has kept them in those games. You look at those comebacks, the defensive side is just unbelievable in the second half. I will say though, they cannot fall behind against Kansas City. They're 24th in points allowed. That defense. So when it comes to passing, I mean, I don't believe Kansas City is gonna take a tremendous lead in the first quarter, and Jaguars will keep it close in the first half. That's my opinion, but there's no way they can fall behind, especially by double digits.
Yeah, it could be really tough. If you fall behind a little bit with Kansas City, it can turn into a big time rout. Um, but it's going to be interesting. Uh, kind of a rest versus rust kind of thing. Um, for the Chiefs, they got a week off, but the Jaguars are riding high right now. Uh, it's such a tough place to go, Arrowhead. I mean, I like the Chiefs, but I think it'll be a pretty high scoring matchup. I think this is gonna be a little bit closer than people think. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, at least the first half. I know they have the Chiefs -9, but honestly, after last week, you can't count the Jags out. And what do they have to lose? I mean,
Yeah,
did anyone expect them to make the divisional round, play at Arrowhead? Now, Trevor Lawrence might have put himself into a hole because he did say, I don't expect it to be as loud as it was in our stadium. I don't think that was a good idea.
you're right. That was a tough thing to say, but I will say in his defense, he has played in some pretty loud, rowdy environments. He's been played in the big levels of college, college football. So that I think plays a factor in that, and I don't doubt that it was pretty crazy in Jacksonville. But yeah, it's not smart to trash talk Arrowhead. It's probably second dumbest thing you can do, other than say that the snow in Buffalo means nothing. I mean, it just isn't a good strategy if you are trying to win a game, underrating the crowd in Kansas City. Uh,
Yeah, and I heard the Chiefs don't have McCole Hardman. So
that
apparently
could be
he's out
big.
for the game. That could be big. I mean, that limits who they have to cover. Juju Smith-Schuster, and I got to say, my key player to watch for the Chiefs might be Isaiah Pacheco. I love him out
Checo's
of
gonna be huge.
Rutgers. I love him out of Rutgers. He's been doing great this year. And I think with the check down with Mahomes loves to throw the ball. He's going to be pass friendly against this team because I don't see the run game being too apparent against that defensive line for the Jags.
It's a good point. Also, you don't have that's going to be your featured back. I don't know. I mean, the running game is not huge for Kansas City, but in this game, if you can get kind of an underneath passing game going, it could probably give you that edge to really get it moving. Um, Moving on to your game, Giants Eagles. It's going to
Giants,
be
Eagles.
it's a big rivalry already, and now you get it in the playoffs. Obviously, last week the Giants, Danny Dimes, put on a show in Minnesota. He really exposed the Vikings, and It's a good omen going into this game. The only thing I wonder is the Giants defense I think is going to be able to is going to have to cover a lot of pieces when it comes to the Eagles, and they did not look so great trying to do so last time this season. So, do you have any keys that could give them that you think the Giants need to do to pull this upset? I mean, it's going to be tough.
I mean, the Eagles are so well balanced on both sides of the ball. It's going to be very difficult. But I have to say, if there's one team that could possibly do this, I think it is the New York Giants. I mean, you look at 07-11. I don't want to talk about the past much. This is a totally different team, in my opinion.
Of course, but it's
But
always in your
I mean,
brain.
exactly. And we were 2.5 point underdogs last week. We're 7.5 point underdogs this week, given we are in prime time. We are in Philly. Did you know we haven't won a game in Philly in almost a decade? Did you know
Really?
that? We haven't won in Philly since 2013. I believe it was
That's tough.
October of 2013 was our last win there. I mean, the Giants, this win would be much more than beating the Eagles and advancing to the championship. This rivalry we have, New York versus Philly, is apparent in every sport. I mean, baseball, the Yankees, Phillies, the Giants and Eagles, it is just tremendous. So to be able to beat them, especially as huge underdogs, we have nothing to lose. This was a rebuild year. How do you call this a rebuild year when we just upset the 13-3 or 14-3 Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I will say, Dable has kind of he's come in and just changed things completely after you had a series of incompetent coaches. Let's be honest, come through New York
Yeah,
with a lot of talent and just felt like they could never really find their footing in the Big Apple. And then you bring in Dable, and then he
coach of
immediately,
the year.
yeah, he's been incredible. They finally found their match. I guess you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find your Prince Charming, and that's kind of the what the Giants have been doing. I'm interested to see what this is an interesting stat. So what's been the giant killer this season has been Boston Scott for the Eagles. You want 10 out of his 17 career touchdowns have been against the Giants.
I know.
It's going to
He is
be
just
yeah.
a giant killer. And
Mhm.
I'm really nervous because they have such a dual threat. I mean, Miles Sanders, he's got great. I mean, I think he's a little underrated. He backed up Barkley at Penn State. They're going to see each other on other sides of the ball this week, this year, or this week. Um, every week, those two put on a show. But then you have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, the Heisman winner, and then on defense, they're shut down. I mean, it's going to be tough. The Giants, 100%, the key to this game is that offense has to come out rolling like they did last week against the Vikings. But more importantly, the defense has to step up. Defense wins championships.
I think the defense stepping up is going to be gigantic. I mean, obviously, you win this game if Danny Dimes puts on the kind of show we did last week. Um, we'll find out. Hey, man, I'm. It's going to be interesting, especially because it feels like history repeating itself. Another underdog Giants team coming in, pulling upsets. I guess people saw last week coming kind of for a while because I mean, people thought that the Vikings were kind of frauds, but it's now this kind of gets into a different level. I think it's
Yeah, and
going to be a
hey, I mean,
tough environment.
yeah, I mean, you have Eli in the building, might bring a little magic. You never
True.
know.
Do love Eli. Do Eli is the guy. That's true. All right, let's head on to the Sunday games. Bengals at the Bills. Obviously, this is a rematch of the Damar Hamlin game, just from
Mhm.
just like less than a month ago. I was, and that was one of the craziest, I think, moments we've seen in recent memory. I wouldn't be surprised if Damar Hamlin gets introduced before the game. It's going to be high intensity. Um, Honestly, looking at the stats and looking at how these seasons have gone, you could see where the Bengals have the Bills when it comes to offense. I mean, Burrow has had a better season statistically than Allen. If you're just looking at passing yards, just looking at touchdowns,
Yeah.
interceptions. Um, at the same time, obviously you have Stephon Diggs on the other side with the Bengals, and you had the fact that this is going to be a high energy type game. This is going to be one of those games where, if you're
I
the
mean,
Bills, how do you lose this game?
how can it not be? And for the Bills, there is a lot of pressure. I mean, it's amazing to see DeMar Hamlin back. He might be in the stadium. That would just be
He
tremendous
probably will be,
after
if I'm going to guess.
after suffering cardiac arrest on the field. He's recovering. He's doing well. He's talking to his teammates. It would be an amazing story to see him in the field. And if he's on the sideline in the suites, if he's in the suites and you're behind your home crowd, how do you not come out swinging in that game? I mean, Naheem Hines returned, what was it, 2 kicks against the Patriots in the final week of the season at home, right after
Oh
what
yeah,
happened. And you're right. Turnovers for the Bills have been tremendously the biggest issue. I mean, Josh Allen, he led the NFL in turnovers to end the season. He had 19 turnovers in 16 games because they only played 16. And last week was no different. I think he had 2 interceptions and a fumble against the Dolphins in the wild card, which was an awfully close game against the
yeah.
third string quarterback.
When you are facing it's Skylar Thompson, and you should win by a lot of points, and then when coming down to the last possession, I mean, if you they put together one drive, the Dolphins put together one good drive, and they might even walk out of there
Yeah.
with a win. So it definitely you're gonna have to pump yourself up after a really tough game last week. But I'm not sure if there's anything better to pump yourself up than bringing in this guy who has, I think, all the prayers of America was with him, and he had such a incredible recovery, very quick, and after one of the scariest moments we've seen in a long time. So I really like the Bills in this game, even though Joe Burrow I think might even win. I mean, he has a decent shot at probably getting the MVP at the end of this year. He has been that good, um, but it's
I'm
just
gonna
not
I'm gonna
enough.
I'm gonna have to say the other way. I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals, to be honest. I'm going with the
Really,
Bengals. They're one of my big underdogs of the week. The Bengals, if they are more complete overall, that team, they have a little less injuries. And if Josh Allen turns the ball over like he's been doing, if he just gives the Bengals maybe 1 or 2 turnovers, Joe Cool back there, he really is calm. And going into Buffalo is not a shock for him. It's not. He went to Arrowhead, and I don't think people remember. He came back against the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the championship to go play in the Super Bowl. So I think people have to remember that. And if Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, one of the most depth wide receiver rooms in the NFL, if he gets a hold of the passing game, I don't know. I mean, this is my closest game of the week. This is the closest game of the week. Bills are favored by 5.5. This might be a 3, 4 point game.
I think that's probably pretty accurate. Although, yeah, I personally I could see the Bills just based on energy getting out to a quick start, and then maybe the Bengals making it close again, but then the Bills pulling away. That's just me. I'm just basing a lot of that on energy. You are correct. Joe Cool is Joe Cool, and last year obviously they did beat the Bills in the playoffs. So I mean, or they didn't beat the Bills in the playoffs. What am I talking about? They made it beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, and they made a great run. Maybe this year they can do it
Yeah.
against the Bills. Yeah, I can see that.
Bottom line, it relies on Josh Allen. What is Josh Allen going to show up and do? He's at home. He's got a lot of energy. Sometimes he's got too much energy. He's got a lot of emotion. And sometimes he lets that get the best of him. And that's why he's got so many turnovers. Next game, we got the final game of the divisional round.
Hmm.
Cowboys and 49ers. 49ers, 11 straight victories since they've gotten Christian McCaffrey, CMC. They are 4 point favorites in this game. What do you think?
It it's funny, this season there's been a lot of trash talk about Dak, um, because he's been turning over the ball like crazy. But then last week, obviously, he completely flipped the script. I mean, he just completely outclassed and outplayed Tom Brady. He looked spectacular. Uh, at the same time, what Dak are we going to get? Is that a 1 week reprieve against kind of a not so hot Buccaneers team, or is that what is he reaching his heights and kind of reaching going to be going on a streak where he's you know what Dak can be?
I
That's
mean,
one of my biggest questions coming into this game.
yeah, I mean, he did have his best game of the season at the right time, torched the Bucks 305 yards. But is he really going to show up and do that again? That's my question. And you're right. I honestly do not think he will throw 100%. He will not throw for over 300 yards against that 49er defense. You got Bosa on the line, and he is a wrecking ball.
I
I got the 49ers in this game. I really do.
I really think this is honestly the most evenly matched game of the weekend, mostly because I think the Cowboys' weapons. If I do think Dak's gonna come out and be that guy again, and I think also the Cowboys' defense. I mean, Micah Parsons is a wrecking ball, and Brock Purdy's obviously been incredible, undefeated since
Yep.
he has took over as quarterback. Um, and I think he deserves next season to be the unquestioned starter in
No
San
doubt.
Francisco. But at the same time, you're going to have to face off against a keyed up Cowboys defense. You obviously have a lot of weapons that can help you get over that, but will the pressure be maybe a little bit too much? Will they be able to get to him a little bit more than what you saw last week with the Seahawks? I think so. And then
That's
what?
something that I was focusing on.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Parsons, Cowboys defense, I think that's probably the best defense that Purdy has faced since he's hopped in here. And I mean, it's incredible that the 49ers have Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and now Brock Purdy, who came out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, he has played lights out. He
Mhm.
hasn't faced as much pressure as I thought he would. So seeing the Cowboys defense matched up on the other side, I don't know. I mean, I think this one will be close. It could, I mean, the Cowboys could win this game. You can't forget, Dak is coming in. Do you remember last playoffs when Dak was at home? His Cowboy fan base watched him spike the ball with 0 seconds
Yeah,
because
that
they
was
couldn't
tough.
line up in time.
Yeah,
That
I
was
remember.
tough. And the Niners escaped that game. So if they escape that game, there's no reason the Cowboys could win this one and return the favor at their building.
Also, fun fact: this will be the ninth time these two franchises have faced off in the playoffs. They are very historically, oriented towards each other. They both have had incredible histories. Um, the one thing that could end up being the difference maker, I think this is evenly matched, more evenly matched than people realize. What could be the big difference maker is Brett Maher. I mean,
That's what
last
I was
week
exactly going to say.
was one of the most incredibly bad kicking performances I've ever seen in my life. I mean, good for him to make that last one just to, kind of show that he still has something. But man, and I've been through this before with the Bears with Cody Parkey throughout that entire 2018
Going,
season. You saw him miss big field goals, miss extra points, and then when it came to crunch time in the playoffs, when he needed to make a field goal, didn't happen. So if that's the same thing with Maher, and maybe he makes an early field goal or makes some PATs, but then it comes down to that final field goal to make it to win it, I'm not super confident that he'll be able to live up to that pressure.
that's got to be the question. Surprisingly, that could be the difference. Him missing one extra point out of four, out of three, four, five, that might be the point they needed. Is it one field goal that's going to cost them the game? Or what story would it be if it's down to Purdy making a game winning drive or Maher making the game winning kick? I mean, that would be incredible to see them advance off of a made field goal after last week. Do I want to see that as a Giants fan? I'm going to
Of
show
course
some
not.
bias.
No.
No, of course not. I'd like to go to California and I'd like to watch the Giants there through the Eagles, of course. But I mean, it's in the hands of the kicker. If he's on, if Dak's on, I don't see any reason why they're out of this game till the fourth quarter, at least.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, we'll find out pretty soon, but it's not. I still think that it's gonna be. You are right. I mean, when Purdy, if it's between Purdy and Maher, I personally would take Purdy just because it's the kind of weapons he has around him. Debo, CMC, Ayuk, these guys are just incredible, and they can elevate that kind of young, kind of just solid kind of passing game. Uh, but at the same time, if the Cowboys defense gets to them, if I've seen players fall apart much easier than than just a couple of serious sacks and then some momentum just crushing you. So hopefully that doesn't
Yeah.
happen. But I
I
mean
mean,
that's what you can see.
Cowboys have a lot of motivation. Haven't made, the championship since what was it, 1996? I mean, the Giants have even made it twice since then, or three times since then. So, I mean, Cowboys, this is the hump they're trying to get over. Are they going to do it? That's the question. Can they finally get over that hump? Is Dak Prescott going to be the guy that steps in, wins the game, and sends this championship to either Dallas, Philly, and we'll
How
see.
how incredible would it be, to see the Cowboys lose again, and then it kind of, Cowboys fans will keep coming around and keep talking about, we them boys, we're kind of, talking trash, and it's I know you have experienced that a lot more than I have, but
Oh yeah.
30 years and counting, not making a conference championship game. I mean, that's just
Yeah, no,
for
not
supposed to be this
not that
incredible
impressive.
franchise.
Yeah, not that impressive. A lot of hype, not a lot of talk. I mean, a lot of talk and not a lot of action.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think they're gonna win this game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think they're gonna get over the hump. Dak is a great quarterback, throws for a lot of yards. Yards don't equal wins. It's just the truth. I mean, it's not always the case. At least in his case, I don't see that happening. I got the 49ers in this one. I see all across the board. Most of these favorites are heavy favorites. I got the Giants, of course. I have the Bengals underdogs again. So going with two underdogs. I got the Chiefs. There is no way Lawrence keeps up with the Chiefs. And then I have the 49ers sending this championship to either San Francisco or Philly.
I'm actually gonna
That's it.
go with the. Like, I'll go with the Chiefs. Uh, I'll go with the Chiefs. I'll go with. I'm not. I'm debating if I want the Giants or the Eagles. I guess I'm going to go with the Eagles. Sorry, I'm going to be. Hey, I'll be all behind you, but that's just my pick. I'll go with the
Fair.
Bills, and then I'm actually going to go with the. I got to go with the Niners. Uh, you know what? No, I'm going with the Cowboys because Dak, I think, is going to keep on a roll next week. So you would have to go to Dallas if the Cowboys win and the Giants win, right?
Mhm.
That'd be
Yeah, if
crazy.
the Cowboys and Giants win, I mean, we're going to Dallas. Would I go to Dallas? Possibly.
That'd be
I
sick.
mean, a Cowboy Giants championship does not happen often.
It doesn't happen
So,
often at all.
oof, and what a time would it be to have the Cowboys make the championship and lose? Oh,
Be
I
funny.
mean, I can't imagine. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. We still got the Eagles ahead of us. Philadelphia Saturday night. That's all my mind's on.
Anthony, tell them where you can find you on YouTube.
Yeah, of course. So I have a YouTube channel, go across the country. As Tommy said, go to some of the best games in the country. I am at Stadium Life 99 on YouTube. You can catch me there. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram at A_betray22. I'm always posting. I'm at some of the biggest games always. Again, if the Bills happen to win this game, the Chiefs happen to win, I may go to the AFC Championship in Atlanta. Neutral
That'd be sick.
site would be interesting. We didn't talk about it. Neutral site would be
That'd be
interesting.
crazy. That'd be insane.
Now, if I'm a fan of the Chiefs, do I want neutral site? Absolutely not. Arrowhead is one of the greatest stadiums to play in, and that's where I want to be. But anyway, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and hopefully I'll be back on the show here, with Tommy.
I definitely think you will be. Obviously, follow Ice Cold Sports on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, 5 stars, comment, all that stuff on both. You can find me at Tommy S. Gahan, Gahan, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Ice Cold SPRTS, or you can go to icecoldsports.com. Thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on. I'm Tom again. That's
Of
Anthony.
course,
And this has been Ice Cold Sports. See you guys.
that's a wrap.